And feel inside your heart. Feel that beautiful feeling that reflects the true nature of yourself. Of all of these veils that cloud being able to see and connect with that which we are. So feel your way there. Feel the light of your heart beginning to expand. And this heart center, if you see it with your mind's eye, is a beautiful sphere of glowing light. It's not a stationary ball of light which moves and contracts and expands, shines and glimmers, and it feels so nice to be connected to this beautiful inner being of love. So we reach for it through those veils. We see them, we recognize them, but we know they are just blockages. I have the power, you say, to move through and forward through all of this resistance and reach for my very own soul. Make contact with that which I am. And now feel that presence and hold that presence with you throughout your practice. Bring your hands up to your heart. As you exhale, bow your head. So the mind has a chance to look inside and see the beauty. That is you. Release your hands and open your eyes and lift your head. Okay? Now stretch your arms up again like we did earlier. Reach up, just time for a moment with your head bowed, and then point the elbows out to the side and switch the interlace of your fingers and repeat. So not your habitual interlace, but the other one. Stretch up, and then release. Now this time, reach behind you. Use a belt. If you can't get the fingers interlaced well, if you can't straighten the elbows, and if you can't lift the arms off the body, then hold it out. As you're holding it out, make sure your palms face forward so that the arm bones will have to turn out, and you'll have a little bit more mobility. Remember, we have more mobility of the shoulder girdle in external rotation and more stability in internal rotation. Bow your head again. Release the tension at the base of your skull. And I'll just say a few things, just remind you, because just because the module that we took for the skull and the spine is gone, we shouldn't forget. But at the base of the skull were these little muscles that 4 on each side, so a total of 8. We didn't learn the names of all of them. It was just too much. But we could have if we wanted to. We abbreviated all of them into one group called the suboccipitals. And as we bow the head forward, we try to help release the tension in the suboccipitals, the little muscles at the base. It's called, they look like a fan, kind of looks like a fan there. Now release the arms down, release your fingers, let your shoulders relax and lift your head. And if we did that well, you have this nice rush of fluid flow as well as prana, energy in your shoulders. Move your props off to the side, come into all fours. And from here, take the hands forward one step, one whole hand step forward, and now come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, down facing dog. Remember, as you're coming into dog, a few things that you might want to remember so you can share them with your clients. When you're weight bearing on the upper body, check the hands to make sure that all four finger mounds not only rest on the floor, but actively press into the floor to lighten the pressure in the 8 wrist bones, the carpals. Then check to make sure that the shoulder blades are spreading. And then make sure that your heels are lifted enough so that you can lift the belly bones, therefore tipping the pelvis so the sacrum moves in and not out. And then come down, placing your knees on the floor and stretch back. Now, if you have some shoulder issues, wrist issues, and it's hard for you to do this child's pose to modified cobra, this little flow here. With this modified cobra, because we're not coming up from the floor, keeping the pubic bone on the floor and keeping the elbows bent if necessary. We're just going to hang the pelvis, but lift out of the shoulders. Don't be sagging and go back. You can do cat and cow. Otherwise, it's child's pose. Exhale and modified cobra. Inhale. Back and forth. Begin to create your own rhythm with your breath. Back, child's pose. Inhale, modified cobra. 3 more times. Or exhale, rounding the back of the table. Cat pose, sometimes called arching the back, sometimes called cat. Then one more time. Good. Now, in the lunge, as we're going to try to really open up the, I apologize. I want to do one thing first before we get into a fun practice of lunge. Come all the way down to your belly. Place your hands here by your shoulders. Now let's do Bhujangasana, Cobra. And just use your, do what you can do, your best. But let's make sure we adjust. Once we first lie down, a lot of times the pelvis is more anteriorly pelvic. So this is just a habit that many of us fall into. So pull the back of the pelvis towards the heels. And then begin to come up, keeping the pelvis, the back of the pelvis pulled towards the heels, pressing the pelvis down as you lift the pit of the abdomen, and just come up as far as you can. It doesn't really matter to me. If it's here, that's fine. If it's here, it's fine. If you can straighten your arms, as long as your shoulders stay away from your ears, and then don't let the head stick out there like a turtle. Bring it back, and even lift the chin if your body lets you. So take it to where you can be, observe, make mental notes, and then come down. Okay, now push back. Child's pose. Now we're ready. Bring that blanket onto the mat, unless you just don't need it. That's for your back, leg, knee. So get your chair with the back of it facing like this. And it can be a different piece of furniture, but it needs to be about this high. So you can put your hands on it and push down. Okay? Now, The right foot comes forward. This is Varasana or lunge pose. Now look at my leg. The shin is actually angled. So for this practice, it's not right at this moment, knee over ankle. The knee is falling behind the line that would pop up from the ankle. So it's a little bit off what we normally do. Then slide your left knee back until it won't go back anymore, while this right knee is still behind the line of the ankle. Hold on to the back of your chair. If it's a chair that's even taller, hold on to the sides. Hold on to something so the torso is upright. We're not going to lean forward if we can help it. Only lean forward for getting out of pain. Otherwise, upright. So from the attachment of the psoas and iliacus muscles on the left inner thigh, right there where my hand, see, if you look at the screen, that's where they attach. They're coming up to the ilium on the left side and the spine on the left side. That's the side that I'm stretching. You're stretching too, hopefully, if you're following along. You have slid that back as far as you can. Now let's do the serious work. Number one, push down with your hands to lift your spine up. Number two, lift the pit of the abdomen more powerfully than usual. Because we can get a little slack in that. Really lift it. That will pull the vertebrae up. That will pull the front of the pelvis up. That brings the iliacus and the psoas away from its insertion on the inner thigh. And then you lunge forward. As you're lunging forward, don't worry if the right knee doesn't make it over the ankle. That's not a big hairy deal. We just got to have somewhere to go forward from. Go and don't let the back compress. Back compression means I'm letting my psoas have the power over my lumbar spine. We say nay. Push down more. That may help. Lift the pit of the abdomen more. That may help. And hold. Keep a watch on the shoulder. The shoulder should not be doing the shrug. Shoulder blades are actually anchored down the back. Just enjoy the ride. Okay. Now release by moving the pelvis back. And then bringing the right knee back and the left foot forward. And let's recreate that now on this side. So I've got my left knee angled away from my ankle. I scoot the right knee back until it just won't go anymore. I don't care what you say, Sherry, it's not going back anymore. I'm at the end. Okay, so we've set ourselves up. Remember the order. Number one, press down to lift up. Number two, lift the pit of the abdomen powerfully. The pit of the abdomen is 2 fingers width down below the belly button. That spot, it comes up. And number three, now lunge. And hold all three. As you're letting the left knee keep coming forward, keep coming forward, keep coming forward, any amount. Don't, attentiveness to the back leg needle, that it will in or out. It shouldn't, but in case it does, correct that. And then, of course, any amount that you can add to neck and chin, you can. Otherwise, look straight ahead. Again, do check alignment. Alignment would mean don't let the upper body lean forward. Bring it vertical unless you're avoiding pain. And now slide your chair away from you and come into child's pose to counter the effects of the lunge, the deep lunge. Okay, and now you have a block. That's the middle level. And this is positioning it so that the long side of the block in the second level is left to right. Move your blanket. Don't have that under your head or your neck. Or bridge pose. And place the block under the pelvis this way. Making sure that once you've got it under you, it's towards the tailbone so that it's not up near the sacrum. Because if it comes up, I'm sorry, not near the lumbar spine, you're on the sacrum, towards the tailbone, not on the sacrum, towards the low back. If you feel the top of your pelvic rim in the back, you can stick your fingers back there and touch it. The top of the iliac, of the ilium, excuse me, the top of the ilium is, and you draw a line from one side to the other and meet, that's L4. So we don't want L4 and L5 on the block, just the sacrum towards the tailbone. Now bring your arms, you can tuck the shoulders under, you can interlace the fingers, or you can just hold the sides of the mat, or you can keep your hands flat on the floor. Do lift up though onto your shoulders, and then bring the legs closer together so that you can put more pressure into the left foot and balance the left leg as you stretch the right leg out. Now the right leg should stay on a straight course. Don't let it drift off to the right leg, and don't let it roll in or out. You can sense your leg position by feeling the back of the heel on the floor. Does it feel like I'm right on the center? Then you're good. That way we're opening the hip flexor again correctly. If the leg rolls out, we actually won't get the open. We're moving the muscle away from its lengthening position. So you have to roll the leg in. Slide the leg back. I repeat to the left side now. Have the right foot close to center, you'll balance better. Slide the left leg out. Don't forget too, this action that we did earlier, the lift of the pit of the abdomen is so important now. Again, in these hip flexor stretches, and including Warrior One, if you were to do that, it's vital that the power of the abdomen is keeping the spine from compressing forward. Repeat to the other side, but this time, after you stretch the right leg out, and make sure you're on the heel, lift your left knee towards your chest, reach up, see if you can get it, catch the back of the leg and pull it toward your chest, or grab the shin and pull it toward your chest. So try to keep the pelvis tilted onto the block. Don't let the pelvis come into a tuck. Keep it tilted as you do this. This is to open the hip flexor even more when the opposite side is in your chest. Release, bring the right leg back. Pause for a moment and regroup. Make sure that your feet are flat on the floor, close to your hips, and the right foot is going to stay towards the midline of the pelvis. Stretch the left leg out. Keep the left knee centered on the floor. Lift the pit of the abdomen powerfully and then draw that right knee to your chest. And release. Place the right foot on the floor. Bring the left knee up. Stay on your block for just a moment more. Now squeeze the buttocks and then release the buttocks and let the weight of the body fall heavy on the brick. Squeeze and release. And we told you this, but we're going to make sure, keep doing this. Every time you exhale, squeeze so that you can explain this to your clients. Why are we doing these isometric buttock contractions? I don't have any buttock problems. But what we do have a problem with is that we hold a lot of tension in the muscles that we cannot consciously control. If you remember when we studied anatomy with the spine, there was this one muscle called the multifida that actually attaches onto the sacrum, and from the sacrum to the ilium. And then it travels up back. Very small muscles, considered one of the deeper muscles of the spine. This particular muscle, you never think about how you contract it, what you could do to make it stronger. It just doesn't work that way with this muscle. And not only does it respond to helping hold you upright in the posture, but it also, you keep doing the squeezes, but it also responds to stress. It will contract under frustration, worry, and stress. And it also contracts to try to hold you together when you're sitting in a chair and your pelvis is falling backwards and your spine is falling forwards. So it gets a little bit overly worked. And so if we just did this practice and we put the pelvis on the block, that particular area of the multifida kind of relaxes. It kind of goes, oh, I love a little pressure on me. I love a little weight on me. I'm going to relax. So the reason for the isometric contractions is to use the buttock muscles, the gluteus maximus muscles, to indirectly, since you can't control the multifida with your mind separately, we're going to use the buttocks to indirectly make contact, so that when you do lift up, and let's do it now, because I've been explaining a lot and we've been talking so long, go ahead and lift up. When you do it, you have awakened the multifida enough that it won't go into a spasm. Because if you relax it and then ask it to lift bodily weight, it might go into shock. This keeps that from happening. That's why this isometric contractions are so important. So don't leave those out. All right? So now roll over to the side, put your hands on the floor, and press yourself up. Now, I'm going to assume, I hope that everyone has 2 blocks and maybe some blankets. So we're going to take the 2 blocks this time and move them up under the shoulder blades, side by side, lowest level. Now, don't worry if you like higher levels. We're going to get there. But we're starting here, a shoulder blade here, a shoulder blade there. And then a little something for the head if you think you need it. You probably don't need it for this one, but maybe you do. In this one, once we recline, and the arms should be over the block. So if I lie down with before I roll into my back, I lie here with the shoulder blade sticking out on my side and my arm above it, so that I know that the upper shoulder blade and the arm bone are not on the blocks. They should fall right into the right place. Have your arms out to the side, so arrange your furniture and yourself so that the bricks lift you up, and when the arms shift off to the side. This is not just for an opening, but also for muscles and bones, but also for the connective tissue from the breastbone outward across the shoulders. Now, once you're here and you check and make sure that works, because you can always elevate the arms a little bit if it's too much for the shoulders. You can put blankets or books. You can get some books and put under your arms. But check your neck, and if the neck needs a little bit more height, well, you just grab that blanket and fold it again. Fold it until your neck feels comfortable. Now, in this practice, once we get there, well, the upper body is going to relax, but the legs will roll in and press down. They'll stay active. The pit of the abdomen will stay active. One more thing, and then we'll be quiet for a couple of minutes. Well, about a minute. So one more thing, and that is, in this practice, lift the pit of the abdomen. Not as strong as you did in the lunge, but enough to keep the low back out of control. Okay, Now bend the knees. Lean to the right just a little bit. Lean over to the right. I'm just picking the right for right now. You can actually change side. Slip your left hand behind your head. You're just leaning the twist up, right arm is still on the floor. Now lift up, using your core muscles to help, but support the head the whole time. You're leaning up, rolling to the right. You get to a place where you're like, I don't really need to hold my head anymore. So now the left hand will come down to the floor by the right arm, and they'll push together to help you up. And there should be no neck issues at all. Now we flip the blocks up to the middle level. So this is a little bit more back bending. And so the thoracic spine is going to have even a little bit more of a bend in it. Not everyone is ready. Just because you can do it and I can do it doesn't mean that everyone else is ready for it. So if you tried the low level and it felt good, but you try the second level and it doesn't feel good, then you can stay for a while. We're going to just practice helping your kyphosis with that first level. Now, we're going to take some blankets and make them even thicker for the just in case, and then you can thin them out. Actually have this a little high, and then if I don't like it, I can just lift my head and flip that back and thin it out some. Also, you could cover this with a blanket if you thought, well, those are all hard bricks. My body wants to reject them. So now the same thing again, this time. You lie down with your arm on top, and see how I'm on the top of the block. So that lets me know I'm lying down in the right place. I can wriggle and squirm, get my shoulder blades on there. The spine is between the blocks. Check to make sure my neck feels comfortable. Add more props if it doesn't. My knees are bent at first. I give my stowers a chance to say, oh, nothing to be alarmed about here. And then I stretch the legs out. Press the legs down. Stretch out, roll in, press down. This time, take your arms up, point it to the ceiling, and look at your palm. Know you are in space by looking. Let your eyes see your palms. That the palms are facing each other. Let your eyes see your elbows. That your elbows are straight. And then continue to hold the arm position as you take your arms overhead. Don't let one arm get ahead of the other. The one that's more open, just keep it even, relatively even with the one that's tighter, because you won't lose that anytime soon if you practice regularly. Just hang on, both arms, shoulder distance apart, elbows straight. Sometimes you have to turn your eyes toward your arms just to make sure you're behaving. Elbows are straight. Feel the abdomen is lifted. Let the blocks do their work. Let the blocks help break up tension in your back. Now bring your arms beside you, or hands into your chest, bend your knees. Remember how we did the exit before? We put one arm down. I'm going to use the right arm again, the other leg. Put the right arm down, the elbow comes to the floor. I'm going to hold my head for the most of the journey to the right, and it will start coming up. And now I need my left hand to help push up. So I don't need, my neck doesn't need the support anymore, so I can lean forward, push both hands, the right elbow to the left hand, and come up to sit. And hopefully we're all doing okay. And sometimes this work is really uncomfortable because we haven't done thoracic reform in such a long time. And we need to be doing it. Now the blocks are going in the high level. And I turn the blocks this way because that represents my shoulder blade is triangular in shape. However, the block is square. But I want to rest that whole triangular shape shoulder blade on that block. So side by side, the spine is in the middle. And I'm going to estimate about where, remember, they can't be too close because, and all you have to do is lean back and test it. And then if it's right, go back. This time when you land, we'll cross our forearms and hold our forearms. So add more blanket if you need it. Add more, whatever your sofa cushion, whatever you got. I've got these two blocks going. A lot of times in the pose called Payargasana, we'll do it on the spine. But we're just to show you something different. We're supporting, and so it's less wobbly. We're supporting both sides of the thoracic by placing the blocks under the shoulder blades. We're gonna squirm and get it a little bit. I was up a little too high, but now it's in the right place. It feels good. I've got my head supported. You can hear me talk. My throat is not compressed. Roll the legs in, press them down, keep them side by side touching. Cross the forearms, the I Dream of Genie arms, and take your arms overhead. Notice that in the shoulder and in the thoracic back bend practice, we did 3 different levels of back bend. And if you can't do this, please go back to the first level and at least do some of the practice, right? Keep it going, keep it going. But this is practice number 3, and now I'm holding my elbows. Now switch the cross of your arms, the forearms, so that you have the opportunity to rebalance. Okay, and now bring your arms back beside you. Bend your knees, hold your head. This one's more important than ever. Hold your head with one hand. I'm going to do my left hand. Lift the head and lift the upper torso. Put the forearm on the floor, the right forearm. And if you're doing what I'm doing, and rock to the side while lifting the head. At no time do we want neck tension. Okay? And so then up we come. And then we sit for a moment. You know, it's always good to just lie on your back and see how it feels after all that. It's good when you do, take everything out, not even something for the head. Sometimes after you do this back bends and you lie flat, you can really feel the difference in the way your back body feels. It's nice, the shoulder blades are nice and flush against the back ribs, not broken. We've lost some of that kyphosis. We've lost some of that roundedness in your upper back. Okay, so we felt that. Now let's get our belt. And let me move these out of the way. So the Chatush Padasana is like bridge pose. It is really bridge pose, but we're going to hold the feet, or well, not hold the feet, but hold the ankle right over the shin bone right above the ankle. Now that's really hard. And a lot of times we can get it when we come up. We don't have the lift in the hip flexors and the quads yet to get the knee back over the ankle. So what we'll do is add a little extensor to the feet. So I'm going to place the belt across my shins. Now I'm not going to hold the belt like this because as I'm pulling on the belt, it will cause my shins to pull together. I just want to hold on to something. So I take this and I push the center of the belt down so it comes between the lower legs. So it's like a wave. It comes over the left shin, down in the middle, over the right shin, off to the side. And then I can hold these two ends. The right hand has this shoe as a belt loop, and the left hand comes over and holds this tail and the inside part of the belt. So I now have 2 belt loops, and they're perfect to hold the shins. And then I can back up a little bit. I can add length, or I can shorten it, but I can make it where I can reach and then get a good lift. Because if you're holding the ankles or you're holding the shin above the ankles and you're trying to come up but you're too compressed, it's not worth it. You won't open anything. So let's go ahead now, and I hope you've got this. Again, hard to see everything on Zoom, but we'll lift up. Okay, and then tuck your shoulders under and then finish the lift up. And then you can see, do I need to take more belt, or I need to loosen the belt? But push the feet strongly and lift the pelvis powerfully. Now, when you pull the belt, the shoulders should feel like they can roll under more, and the chest should feel like it rises even more. So pull the belt, pull the belt. And then down you go. Okay, now take the belt and set it off to the side and roll over to your side. Use your hands to push yourself up and get your chair again. Now, if you don't have a chair with a back like this, use whatever you can find in your home that will simulate this. You can put a blanket here and then sit on the edge. Right? Then lean back. You'll stay seated, so you don't have to worry about the chair flipping over. The weight of your body is going to keep the chair down. Hold your head, spread your elbows, and lean back. So that, again, the question I'm always asked, even after I answered it before, I still get asked, where do you put your upper body? The middle of the shoulder blades. So if you don't know, sometimes we don't, just sort of a dead zone to our minds, we can't quite figure it out. Just slide towards the tip of the shoulder blade, slide towards the top of the shoulder blade, and then sort of wiggle and find the middle. And then lift the pit of the abdomen to protect the spine and lean back. As far as you can go, just lean back over that back and hold. I think I'm having deja vu. I know we've done this before. Let's take several deep breaths into your open front body. Now pull up, and sit for a moment. Now interlace your fingers for this next one and make this little hook like this with your hands that your head falls into. The little fingers are at the occipital bone, the thumbs are at C7, and you'll drop your head back into your hands, or the neck. The head will fall back over the hands, and the hands are holding the neck. Same spot, but this time the elbows point up. Same spot, but the elbows point up. Check your elbows. And then begin to lean back over the chair. Notice how the elbows point up and the head falls back, and the neck won't bother you because it's fully supported by the hands. Now inhale, and as you exhale, move the forearms towards that wall behind you and drop over the chair again. Inhale and exhale. Traction the head a little bit more by pressing the forearms away towards the back of the room and drop over the chair. Continue. Forearms press back, head drops towards the floor. And now bring yourself up, keep your hands under your neck as you begin to lift up. There's a point where your neck and head won't need your hands anymore. So reach for the sides of the chair and support yourself as you come all the way up to sit, and pause. Now, move the blanket off. I'm hoping we all can do this. Scoot your chair back to the back of your mat. We have to open up the front shoulders just a little bit. We're going to do Purva Uttanasana, stretch to the east, or sometimes called reverse table, but we're doing it elevated. So go ahead and walk your feet forward so that when you come off, you're holding onto the sides of the chair. You come off the chair, your pelvis is off, and now you lift the hips up. So you see our body is now like an inclined plane. Now lift, lift, lift. And the lifting of your chest and the lifting of your pelvis helps open the shoulders while strengthening the back. If you can take your head back, it'll just rest on your upper trapezius and you'll be fine. And so there you are. But if it bothers you to take your head back, then just look over the body and wait. Keep lifting though. Don't lift and then start to sag. Lift and then lift and then lift and then lift. And then come back, hold onto the chair tightly, walk your feet back and get your pelvis on that chair seat. Okay. All right, so we'll repeat that. We'll do it one more time. And this time, either take the feet all the way out and straighten the legs, or stay and repeat what we just did. Now, if you said, you know what, my shoulder didn't like it, my wrist didn't like it, I just don't really want to do it again. But you should do a variation. Just hold to the sides of the chair, the seat or the side rungs, and repeat it. Just the opening part. Open the sides of your ribs, open the sides of your armpit chest. So here we go. Hold on to the sides of the chair if you can. Do number 2. But this one we call it number 1, just sitting in the chair. Number 2 is with your knees bent, and number 3 is with your legs straight. So you give it a try. You swap your legs out, and then you roll onto the tops of the feet, or towards the tops of the feet. Either way, just make sure your legs don't roll out. The little toe and the big toe side of your foot should be even. And then lift that saggy hip area, because it wants to go, gravity wants to draw it down, and you say, no, I will lift it. And take the head back. The armpits are opening, the shoulders are opening. And then you walk your feet back and have a seat. Now, take a breath. And go and put your chair away. And let's come back to the floor on face down for Bhujangasana. And let's just see. Reach your legs back one at a time, then adjust the pelvis. Remember to use the fall to an inch of pelvic tilt. We're going to kind of fix that, correct that. And then as you're pressing the back of your pelvis towards your heels, begin to come up. Draw the shoulder blades down and press them into the thoracic, and then lift the pit of the abdomen. And just see if you have changed your cobra. Remember, the suboccipital should be coming back and lifting up. You bring the base of the skull back. Keep the trapezius away from your ears. And then down you come. And rest. You put your forehead on your forearms. And then, I know, it's cozy down here, isn't it? Press back into downward facing dog. And then down you come. And rest in Shavasana. So in your home, I have no idea what the temperature is, and maybe add some clothes, grab a blanket. If you have bright lights on and want to dim the lights, that's fine. If you have people running around, could you tell them, for just 5 minutes, please stay. Let me have my rest. It's been a long day, and we're trying to give you a chance to rest the body and the mind. Take a slow, deep breath into your body. And then exhale. Bend your knees. Let your legs gently rock side to side. And then roll to your right side. And then press yourself up and sit comfortably. So thank you for joining me in practice. Now, before we take a break, is there any burning question? Okay,